Hi guys, it's Mr. A here. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk about memory today. This is going to be part one of memory. There's going to be two or three other parts. I haven't decided, I haven't made them yet. But let's jump in here. Let me get this started. Okay, so in this first screencast, we're going to talk about certain cognitive skills that we all have that are part of our cognition. Then we're going to look at stages of memory, biological aspects of memory, and encoding. Encoding is putting memories into your brain. So quick recap of psychology, cognitive psychology. So memory is part of cognitive psychology, which is the study of various mental processes that allow us to remember, think, and use language. And I just want to start out with some amazing things our brains can do. You might not think of this, but your brain is already doing these things all the time, and it's really quite remarkable. One is that we have automatic processing versus effortful processing. With effortful is when we're trying to commit information to memory and it requires work, like studying for school. And automatic processing is when we process info without working at it at all. And a lot of times this includes time, space, and frequency. For instance, if you went to the library to study, you would be putting effort into learning your AP Psych terminology, but you would also, without any effort, you would remember that you went there during sixth period and it was Tuesday, and you would remember that you went there on Tuesday. So that would be automatically processed even though you didn't try that. Another amazing skill is deep processing versus shallow processing. When we process things on a deep level, it's understanding a stimuli, or like a concept in school, in terms of its meaningful properties, not merely its appearance or sound. So this aids you in memory recall when you have deep processing of the meaning of the new term. Shallow processing is remembering based just on sounds or appearance of the stimuli. And so that wouldn't help you very much if you were trying to remember the idea deep processing. If you just remembered what the letters D, E, E, P looked like, that wouldn't help you know what it means. Another amazing skill is selective attention versus divided attention. We have the ability to seek out one stimuli from many and just focus on it. So right now, probably while you're listening to this screencast, there's a lot going on in the background of your screen, a lot going around you. There's a lot of other stimuli in the room that you're in, but you can select just to tune in to this screencast. Without this skill, we'd be like a toddler. I don't know if you've ever been around a 2-year-old, but they're just constantly distracted by every new stimuli. A second type of attention is called divided attention. This is the ability to grasp and react to two or more different stimuli at once. So without this ability, it would be very hard to play sports. For instance, imagine a soccer player. You have to know the position of your own body and where your feet are. You have to know that there's a defender nearby and how far away they are and how fast they're moving. And you also have to know that the ball is coming towards you or going away from you and how fast it's moving and if it's at an arc or if it's coming straight. So all of this stuff we can process because of our ability to have divided attention. Final amazing skill is called metacognition. That's the awareness and understanding of one's own thought processes. So it's one thing to have a thought process. It's another thing to be aware of that. For example, like a 4-year-old might have something on the tip of their tongue, but they might not be aware of what that means to have something on the tip of your tongue. And they might not be aware that they have something like that. Like they couldn't communicate that to their parents. But now as teenagers, you all know what it's like to have something on the tip of your tongue, and you all know that you can identify that and say that that's what it is. Okay, let's get into memory. What's the definition of memory? Memory is any indication that learning has persisted over time, or just the persistence of learning over time. Could be learning to ride a bike, could be learning AP psychology terminology, could be learning a person's name. Any indication that learning has persisted over time. So there's a 3-stage model of how this happens. The first thing that happens is a sensory memory. The second thing is short-term memory, sometimes called working memory. And the last thing is long-term. So according to this model, all memories go through these 3 stages. Well, anything you remember for a long time goes through these 3 stages. So let's look at sensory memories. A sensory memory is a very brief memory in your eye or ear or your sense of touch. So it's a very, very brief memory. This chart shows you how long. Iconic is a memory in your eye because it's iconic. And these memories last half a second. Echoic is an echo, so it's in your ear, and those memories last for 3 or 4 seconds, and your sense of touch lasts about a second. So the sensory memories. So this is just as input comes into your body, boom, you have these split-second memories. Then things get processed either into working memory, sometimes it's called short-term memory. Working memory is where you take this incoming info and stuff retrieved from long-term memory, it interacts and it's processing. So it's this working memory. Working memory has a limited capacity of 7 items, plus or minus 2. So it's really like 5 to 9 items. And it has a short duration, about 20 seconds. So for example, if you were changing a tire on your car and you were getting your tools out and you're kind of annoyed that you have a flat tire, when you pull out the jack from the trunk of your car and you set it over on the back of the car down on the ground and then you walk around to where the tire is, you remember for about 20 seconds where the jack is. And after that, you'd look around, you'd be like, where's the jack? Where did I put the jack? So you remember that. So it's a working process. As you're going through the process of changing the tire, you remember, hey, I already did step 1. I already did step 2. Oh, the jack is right here. Oh, wait, I left this back here. And you'd have this 20-second working memory. The final stage of memory is long-term memory. This is an unlimited capacity to store information in our brains. So when you put a memory into long-term memory, it could last forever, or it could fade away. Memories do fade away over time, and we do forget stuff, but there's an unlimited capacity to remember stuff. The problem is just that sometimes we cannot always recall it. Okay, another couple types of memory that don't fit neatly into those categories. One is called flashbulb memory. This is if you can think of like an old-timey camera where they had the big thing and it flashed a light, that would be your flashbulb memory. So it's a vivid, detailed snapshot memory usually of a very emotional event. So a lot of people my age remember very clearly where they were and what they were doing when they first heard or saw about the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York City. So that's a vivid emotional memory. You might have a vivid emotional memory of the first time you kissed someone or winning a big soccer game or a football game or something. You might have a vivid memory of that. Prospective memory is remembering to do something in the future. So a lot of times you make a list or you have something in your agenda or on your calendar, and because we all have trouble remembering what to do in the future. So prospective memory is the ability to remember to do something in the future. I always have a list in my pocket, like written down on a piece of paper of 3 or 4 things I have to do that day. I just can't remember. My prospective memory is horrible. All right, here's some just fun memory feats. They have these World Memory Championships. There's some people out there with really good memories, and they compete with each other to see who can remember the most. Speed cards, it's remembering the order of 52 playing cards. You shuffle the deck, and then you try to remember it. The record is that somebody could look at the deck for 33 seconds and then have the entire order of the deck memorized. Speed numbers, the most digits memorized in 5 minutes. So if you just had a random list of digits, how many could you memorize in 5 minutes? The record is 324. So some cool memory feats. We'll watch a couple of videos in class about some other memory feats as well. Okay, what part of the brain? What's the biology or the physiology with memory? There's a part of our brain we learned about earlier this year called the hippocampus, and it helps you process facts and information. There's a part of our brain down on the back, on the bottom part of our brain called the cerebellum. It helps you with muscle memory, like how to ride a bike. There's something called long-term potentiation. This is the biological basis of memory. There's a change in our neurons when we have a memory. And the more we practice remembering something, the more the change becomes apparent. And it's like a pathway through our brain to the memory and back. And so the neurons fire more. So when you study note cards, flashcards, like before a test or before an exam, and you look at it over and over again, you're going up and down this neural pathway in your brain to get to that memory, that definition of that term. And when you go up and down, the more you go up and down that pathway, the more easy it fires and the more easy you recall it. That's why studying flashcards works. Finally, there's some stress hormones involved in memory. If you are stressed out, there's a good chance you might remember something more. Like if you had a really stressful situation, like if you were on a hike and you saw a bear, boom, your stress hormones flush into your system, and you have this crazy, scared event, and you're going to remember that for a long time because the stress hormones are going to help you remember that. All right, that's the end of our first screencast on memory. Hope you enjoy it. Remember, there are 1 or 2 more episodes, so be sure to check those out. See me in class if you have any questions, or email me.